So Ryan, great to see you here. First time we've had the chance to really sit down and talk to one another. Obviously, I've heard loads about you before and met you, of course, at Creative Fest last week, which was great. Right, we're going to talk a little bit about, your thoughts and views as a marketer and more widely influencer marketing, where you think it's going. And we're going to have a deep dive into some really interesting topics. So first of all, can you introduce the partnerships program at Modash?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here talking to you. So thank you for the invite. And yeah, today I'm going to be happy to talk a little bit about the partnerships program that we use to promote Modash. So for anyone that doesn't have like the context, like a super quick introduction, Modash is a B2B software for influencer marketing. It's used by B2C marketers. But today I'm going to be sharing a little bit of the behind the scenes on how we promote Modash. And one of the big projects and channels that we use is partnerships. Today, partnerships makes up anywhere between 10 and around 20% of our total marketing investment. And I started it probably about 18 months ago, like very small scale, 2 to 4 collaborations per month. And today that's scaled up to like 30 to 40 plus. And it also has a dedicated team member, my colleague Anna, who joined us in February of this year, and she runs the show now. So it's become a really significant part of our go-to-market.
That's incredible. I mean, to see that sort of scale. Why has that been so successful, do you think? What are those nuggets and those ingredients that you've found has worked particularly well?
Good question. I think a big part of it is simply how early we are to the channel, like particularly on LinkedIn. We can maybe get into the channels that we invest in a little bit later, but there are not many B2B brands investing in LinkedIn partnerships right now. So it's novel. A lot of the people that we partner with, we're their first ever sponsor. So that's like one part of the puzzle. But another part is that in B2B, people generally want the opinions of others. They want to hear from people that have used the product, hear what they do with it, and how successful they've been. And so I think it's a mix of that, like trust building aspect, and also just simply being early to the space, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So yeah, so talk to me a little bit more about some of the channels and the platforms that you've invested in.
Yeah, so LinkedIn's our number one. It has been since day one, and it continues to be a great channel for us. Obviously, it has like some limitations in that simply not everybody in influencer marketing that is our ICP is active on LinkedIn. But for those who are, it's been really, really good. Outside of that, newsletters are probably our number two in terms of spend. So we have several newsletters every month that we sponsor, and they perform particularly well when our goal is clicks. That's a big downside of LinkedIn, is that there are not many clicks. It's deprioritized in the algorithm. People don't go there to click on things. Outside of that, we have a little bit of investment in YouTube, and the newest stuff, we're just getting started with like TikTok and Instagram, and which, again, depending on where we go in the conversation, we can talk more about that if you would like.
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, talk to me a little bit more about TikTok, because, in terms of influencer marketing, it's exploding, isn't it, really?
Well, in B2C, it is. In B2B, absolutely not. So this is again, maybe something a little bit different. I think it's very hard for a B2B brand in general to invest in TikTok because of how difficult it is to track and measure and all the rest of it. But for us, I think because of the limitation that we have on LinkedIn, again, not everybody is on there who is in our ICP, TikTok makes sense for us as a place to get new reach. So I think in terms of the incrementality of LinkedIn for us, every new partnership that we add, every new ad campaign that we launch, it's getting more and more common that, we've already reached those people. And we do need multiple touch points. We need to educate people about the different things that we do, remind people that we exist, for the day that they're ready to buy software. But it's even more valuable for someone to hear about Modash for the first time. And so we, not only in partnerships, but in the sort of marketing portfolio as a whole, we like shift a little bit more towards reaching new people for the first time. And because we haven't been very active on TikTok, it makes a lot of sense for us to be there. We know that our ICP are on TikTok. It's a big part of their job and most, of their lives in general. And yeah, we've not been very active there. So if we get reach on marketing topics, particularly in the US, which is our main market, on TikTok, it's highly likely to be both relevant and new for us.
Yeah, and getting in early, I think, is good. And that's where, if you look at where Instagram was, for example, a lot of the success on Instagram came from the creators that were on the platform early. So absolutely makes sense to what you're saying. So what type of collaborations do you tend to, what size creators rather do you work with?
Yeah, in terms of size, so I think it's probably worth saying that there's two distinctly different groups of people that we partner with, and I would refer to them as like creators and experts. There is of course overlap in that like a creator can be an expert and an expert is a creator and all the rest of it. But what I mean is that a creator is someone like Sophie from Pretty Little Marketer, who was also present at Creative Fest last week. She has 500,000 plus followers across all the different platforms, and she has the reach that we need. Like she reaches marketers, which is good for us, but she doesn't do influencer marketing day to day. And so that's one type of collaboration. And then the other type is people that are actually Modash users, like the experts in influencer marketing. And those people can talk about like, this is what I do with Modash. This is how I find influencers. This is how I track my campaigns. This is how I send products and so on. And so there's a little bit of difference. On the creator side, the audience size is more important in that the average audience size is bigger. But on the expert side, I think people would be like surprised by how low the bar is. I would need to double check, but I think our smallest collaborations are with people that have literally like 2,000, maybe 3,000 followers on LinkedIn. And I think the reason why that works is because on LinkedIn, you build a network of connections by default, just by having a career. It's not like Instagram where you have to proactively decide, like, I'm going to grow my audience. But if you just have a 10-year career in marketing, then all of your ex-colleagues, all of the people that you've met at events over the years and so on, that you'll be connected with them. And so even if you just started posting this year, you can still probably reach hundreds of relevant people. And it's in B2B, each person is worth more as well, right? Because the average ticket size is bigger. All the rest of it. So, yeah.
And you used the right point there, relevance, isn't it? Sometimes people get so hung up by the numbers, the vanity metrics of size, when actually it's the relevance of the audience that matters. And that might be a smaller audience, but a better tight fit to the audience that you're looking at.
Totally. Like I say, if we look at a potential partner's career history and, the last 5 brands that they've worked at are all like our ICP, and you can imagine that there's probably 20 or 30 ex-colleagues that are in marketing, and they've all gone their separate ways and they're all in different companies. And, we'd paid just to reach those 50 people, never mind the other like 2,000, because they're all prospective customers, and a genuine recommendation coming from their ex-colleague, someone who they like and trust. There's no alternative, really. You can't build it with a brand.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. So what type of collaborations do you run, paid, affiliate, or gifted?
So they're all paid, which I think might be surprising maybe to some people. We don't do any affiliate collaborations. There's some element of gifting in that sometimes the compensation is like product access plus payment, but there's never anything that's commission only. And I have a bunch of reasons for that, but in no particular order. One of them is simply that there's no clicks on LinkedIn. Like affiliate marketing is reliant on clicks for attribution. And in general, people don't click on things on LinkedIn. The algorithm suppresses it, all the rest of it. The second thing is like the incentive. I believe that most of our best partnerships wouldn't exist at all if we went to them and said, we're offering you a commission-based deal. It's too risky. We're asking the person to put their time in for potentially nothing. There's no guarantee.
I would ditto that.
Yeah. And then the third one is like control over our positioning as well. Like if we had a self-serve affiliate program and we invited people to come and just do whatever they wanted and promote Modash, then I think it's highly likely that people would position Modash in ways that we don't want to be positioned. So for example, the most common one is that someone will say like Modash is a tool for finding influencers, and we're actively trying to reposition away from that to be like an all-in-one end-to-end platform, which is has pros and cons, and there's some reasons behind it. And then the very last one is just like revenue attribution. It's related to the clicks thing, but even if there were clicks, it just fundamentally doesn't make sense to pay out based on like a last click or a first click model, because there are so many touch points involved in deciding to buy a product like Modash. You might only switch platforms once every 2-3 years. You might have 100 touch points along the way. And I think if we credited based on last clutch, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're really investing in these collaborations. And I mean, the amount of people over the years have asked me we'll give you a referral agreement. And I'm like tired of it really, because as my sister said a little while ago, when somebody's working with an established thought leader or influential person, you know, you're buying in not to just that person's audience right now, but 10, 15, or 20 years of credibility, trust, authority, black book, all of that. When I speak to somebody, people have often said to me, I took the call because it was from you, Gordon, or I took the call. And that has a huge amount of weight, doesn't it, to a partner? And I think somebody to say, oh, well, we'll just leverage that and anything you open up, we'll give you an introductory fee. I don't know, it devalues what we're all about at times.
I totally agree. And I think marketers in general, they're like more inclined to believe in that in B2C. They understand that when you pay an influencer, you're not paying them for like the 2 hours it takes to make the video. You're paying them for the audience that they've built over the years. And the exact same thing applies in B2B. It's about the trust that you've built, the reputation that you've built, the network that you've built over the years. I think commission only, it's not going to fly if you want the best people in the space.
I agree. To finish then, which is obviously a key component in what you do, and as a professional top marketeer, measurement is key. How do you measure success with your program?
That's the $1 million question everybody wants to know. I think usually the first thing I say in this kind of circumstance is that I think it's not important to know what the ROI is for a collaboration or even for the program as a whole. What you need to know as a marketer is, like, should I keep doing this? Should I stop doing this? Should I do more of this? Is this investment better than the alternative investment? Is it better than putting more money into Google ads or whatever? And that's the important part. And for that, I think that there's like different kind of levels of signals that you get back from each collaboration. Like, post by post, you can see who reacted. You can see what is their job title. You can see what company they worked at. Like, is this relevant reach? If there are comments, obviously you can see those comments and what they say and like the general kind of sentiment. As well as that, a lot of our LinkedIn partnerships, we use as thought leader ads on LinkedIn as well. And when there is any degree of ad spend involved, we have a tool called Fibbler, which lets us track influenced revenue. So we can see which companies received impressions from those posts and are they in our CRM? And if so, what is the deal value? And so we don't say that those deals came from the ads, but we know that it was a touch point. And that's just an additional signal. You also get things like, mentions in sales calls. We have a tool that records all of our sales calls, and we can see how many people are mentioning LinkedIn in any capacity, and like, is there a specific partner or post or anything like that? And then at an even higher level, of course, we track things like, the overall customer acquisition cost. So what have we spent on marketing in total, and how many customers have we got back? How's that trending quarter over quarter? We look at branded search volume. Is the number of people searching Modash accelerating faster than the category in general? So we look at how many searches is there for like every one of our competitors overall to get like the category view. And for example, if that's growing by 10%, then Modash needs to be growing more than 10% for us to be successful, because otherwise we're just kind of like riding the wave. So yeah, there's different kind of levels of signals that help us decide, should we keep doing it? Should we do more of it? Is it better than, investment B? Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, great. Super. I mean, your stuff, I have to say. It's a real pleasure talking to you today. And I want to just finish. I didn't prime you for this, by the way. This is a bit of a cutaway. I want to just get a couple of thoughts on future trends in the influencer marketing industry. What do you think? If we were sat here in a year or two's time, what would we be seeing more of, or a sort of trend right across the spectrum? Whatever you think.
Very good question. Let me think for a minute. Is it okay to think and then cut the pause out?
Cut the thinking. Yeah, I should have primed you beforehand, actually.
The first things that came to mind are things that we will not see more of. So, for example, I think every year people tend to say, like, we're going to work towards pricing standardization and things like that. And I don't think that's going to happen. I've seen predictions like, we're going to start seeing like chief influencer officers in companies. I don't think that's going to happen.
Really? I've never heard that word, chief influencer officer. I've heard of influencer director or scene, but I've not heard that before.
Yeah, I absolutely don't think it makes sense. So what I hope to see more of, I'm not sure whether we will or not, is influencers being used as a part of the whole marketing picture rather as a siloed channel. And so I talk about this a lot, and I think it's really important that the positioning and everything, like the brand identity, is really consistent across everything, like your paid social, your organic social, your influencer partnerships. It should all be consistent and align with the messaging that is on your website and in your emails and so on. Because I think what happens in a lot of, especially like performance driven companies, each channel is run as a silo and everybody chases whatever use case or product or customer that they can convert on a short-term basis. So like whatever their meta ads dashboard tells them is converting within like a 7-day window, that's the product that they're going to chase. That's the use case, the audience demographics that they're going to chase. And it ends up being that everybody's like chasing different things, and you end up on that like short-term hamster wheel of tracking ROAS, and you never get the long-term compounding benefits that comes with like picking an ICP, picking a use case, in your positioning, and then being consistent with it for a long time. That's how you build like long-term, like standout generational companies. And so I hope that we see more of that. Whether we will or not, yeah, I guess we'll see.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ryan. I really enjoyed talking to you today. Thanks so much.
Really appreciate the invite. Thank you for having me.